Bought in April, it's been 10 months, 1,500 hours of print time, an entire birthday party worth of Minecraft prints, including a massive Ender Dragon, a dozen ATV winch plates, and finally, this benchy that'll be on wheels. Hundreds of dollars in wasted filament, replacement nozzles, broken belt, heater blocks, and 2 replacement build plates. I stopped recommending this printer and advise you to look elsewhere for a large format printer, but that's unfortunate because no other printer this size claims to be multi-material, except that's this printer's biggest weakness. I've had so many feeding issues, clogs, both print ending and clogs I could recover from, but it wasn't like this in the beginning. When I got this last April, it worked great, and I made a review of it where I printed massive articulating dragon, the biggest benchy the printer could fit. I did test multicolor printing, but the objects were not massive because thanks to material changes, it would have taken exponentially longer. But it worked as advertised. There was some criticism and maybe one clog in the first dozen hours, then it was smooth sailing until about hour 1000. In the end, this is almost exclusively now used for large prints, where I prefer to use a printer like my Bamboo P1S for everything else that will fit. So let's talk about why that is. But first, PCBWay. If I was in a hurry to get a large print done while my printer is broken, I'd upload the file to PCBWay, which is currently running their holiday specials. I can upload a file that's much larger than my Kobra 3 Max, select quantity, material, color, even have it assembled with a fast enough turnaround time, it may even beat the print speed of my Max here. You can also check out their custom PCBs and CNC machining. New customers can save $5 on their first order when you create an account using the link below in the description. I already said I don't use this for small prints. Not only is reliability a concern, but as expected, and no fault of the printer, it takes longer to print on this. The bed takes longer to preheat due to its size, take longer to auto level because of its size, requires a lot more room because of, well, reasons you'd buy this in the first place. Its size. I want to compliment Sandwich this printer, so what I do have confidence in is its printing ability when you have one material. In fact, the big benchy I printed 10 months ago is still being played by my daughter today whenever her stuffies want to go on vacations around the living room. But let's talk about those big single material prints and what you need to know about first. I've noticed some of my printers near the edge of the print bed, the prints will frequently peel. My P1S does it too, sorta, but the Kobra 3 Max is quite bad at it. Adding a wide skirt helps and is usually enough, but something like these winch plates need an obscene amount of glue. It got better with an aftermarket print bed, which was surprising because it was a no-name AliExpress print bed, which I didn't expect to perform better than an OEM print bed. It wasn't even a cold plate. One of the prints I'm most proud of is the Ender Dragon. I found it on Maker World, scanned it up, so the biggest piece, the center of body, is as large as a Kobra 3 Max can fit. There are a lot of glued pieces here, and it actually did quite well, only clogging twice, which only twice on 18 pieces is kind of a disappointing sentence. Keep in mind, I have quite a few OEM type nozzles with a PTFE tube in the middle, and a few of those bimetal nozzles with copper at the top that you're supposed to upgrade to, and I've had constant issues with both. Some clogs seem to happen if the filament can't be retracted, which is odd because the nozzle is up to temperature, but you can manually cut the filament using the lever on the side here, retract the filament manually, and it'll resume. Usually. The other half of the time, it's a little more involved, and you can't cut it. I think it has an issue feeding into the hole in the nozzle at the top, but it feeds enough and then cools down that you can't pull it back. You have to pull out the nozzle from the bottom while it's hot, and if you're mid-print, it'll hover over the poop thrower, not giving you enough room to do that unless you bend some of the stamped metal for the poo catcher. If you can do all that before it cools down, you can probably pull it back. Disconnect the PTFE tube from the top, give the end of the filament a fresh cut, and reassemble it all. Be super careful. not to use too much force, even if that's exactly what you need, because you move it along the z-axis at all and your print will fail. And you'll have to restart with your fingers crossed again. If I had to throw a number out there, I'd say my chance of clog is like 1 in 500 for every material change, which may sound okay until you think of how many material changes you actually have to do. That Ender Dragon was printed, so there was one material change from black to white, but now I want to talk about this should be 1300 layer, 3-color, almost 4,000 material change Benchy on wheels, where 1 in 500 is not great odds. In fact, 1 in 500 is guaranteed to fail. So this here is about $50 in wasted filament, and that's just this project. Because of print failures, they've all failed because of a failed material change. This is the latest attempt where a fixed clog didn't push the filament all the way through the printer, but the printer was printing anyway, meaning the brake sensor also failed. I paused it, got the filament correctly flowing, but many supports already missed a layer, and you can't go back. I decided to continue anyway, and it was just a mess, as you can see. However, the reason I didn't finish this one wasn't because of a clog. Oh no, that'd be too convenient. The belt was snapped. I have never had a printer snap a belt going back to 2017, where my Ender 3 V1 was putting in its work. Next, we'll repair this, but what the hell? My only thought is that occasionally the metal back plate back here on the back of the extruder head would bend at the top where the belt is attached. I've heard it hit the vertical support, put stress on everything, then the entire print would be shifted to the left a bit because the actual position of the print head didn't match the position the computer thought it was in. Of course, since this happened, it's in the purging position all the way over here. So as it's printing, thinking it's over my boat, it's actually just dumping it into the poo catcher, backing up into the nozzle and heater block. Speaking of layer shifts, they occur in the Y direction too. And as the bed moves, the belt is the correct tension and in good condition. But on these boats, it'll shift about 2 to 3 millimeters almost every time. I have no idea why, and honestly, that's the least of my problems because the print can continue. I am so obviously disappointed in this printer because I was so excited for a large printer that can do multi-material changes, but finally, the print bed. In one attempt to clear a clog, the PTFE tube came out of the nozzle and didn't go all the way back down because of a hidden stuck filament. I was still able to put everything back together, including the quick release mechanism, and continue printing, despite being about 3 millimeters too low, sticking out of the print head. Obviously, it destroyed that print in progress. And the nozzle destroyed the purge tower, supports, moved the object all around, with no obvious lockout. When things aren't sealed right away, I started a test print, and it just destroyed my print bed. By now, I just give up. So yeah, I don't recommend the Kobra 3 Max anymore, but I need to know if I'm the only one having these issues, or how many of these issues others are having. So let's take a look at the Kobra 3 Max Facebook group to see if I'm just a whiner or not.
We're just going to look at a few recent posts, and there are some people bragging, as they should be, about some cool prints, but I'd say it's 2 complaints per 1 cool thing. And that's kind of how communities around a product work, so it's definitely not 2 out of 3 owners are constantly repairing their printers, or maybe they are. The first post I found this evening was error 11518 with a clog, which I totally understand. Next is error 10130, which Anycubic recommends verifying the wiring, and that's it. Not useful, not a clog, but I hope this person's already printing again. Third is someone excited and looking for advice. What caught my eye was the first 2 people saying they will have a lot of issues, and then maybe the S1 Max would have been a better choice. While I hope so too, since I already bought one, it isn't out yet, and I'm not sure that was in the spirit of the question. Moving on, we have very similar to my experience, bed adhesion issues, which turn into a popped off print issue when the nozzle takes another lap and knocks it loose. Might very well be a Z offset issue, but I can't say from here. Our 5th example is just something someone was bragging about, and I thought it was super cool. Keep in mind, there are plenty of these types of posts too. Go check them out for yourself. I don't want anyone to forget that. Okay, more bed adhesion issues after calibrating. I was getting this before buying an aftermarket print bed, and I'm wondering how large this print actually is because mine would lift the closer to the edge you got. We're at 7 out of 9. We have more Z offset issues, and this was our second Kobra 3 Max because the first one broke. No other context there, but this person said printers from other brands are not giving them issues. Second to last, we have a layer shift because the fan shroud on the nozzle popped off. Not like where my screw is hitting the support, but my fan shroud has popped off a few times. However, it didn't cause any major issues other than some lazy hot layers. Finally, my favorite post since I've been airing my grievances for the past 10 minutes. Every firmware release, the community is skeptical about installing it, which is not a good look for Anycubic. This person applied the latest firmware and, related or not, can't get a successful print. 6 spaghettis, 2 clogs before the nozzle like I'd get, a few feet of errors, and also correlates issues when attempting to do multi-material prints. I don't have to go to Facebook to hear complaints too. My own review and maintenance videos, which you'll find at the end of this video, have them in the comments, but I'd rather you head on over there and read them for yourselves.
If you're printing in one material or have a low amount of filament changes, then this printer can work for you. However, large single material printers can be had for less, like the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max or even the Kobra 2 Max. If I estimated my chance of failure on material changes at 1 in 500, that is a guaranteed loss on a 1,000 layer print, regardless of how many colors I have. Do not buy this. If you do, I hope you have a much better time than I do. I mean that. Either way, I already purchased the Kobra S1 Max before giving up on this and recording this video, so while I'll be selling this off at one point once I finish the boat, I really hope Anycubic has it together for the S1 series, which I have no experience with. In fact, if you have an S1, how reliable has it been? Give me a ray of hope here. Do you have a Kobra 3 Max? Then share your story below. I'd rather use Fusion or the built-in slicer tools to split prints apart and print them on one of my other machines at this point and just glue them together.